Hey, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. And we're going to be breaking down UFC 230 from Madison Square Garden as Daniel DC Cormier, the double champ, looks to defend his UFC Heavyweight title against the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis. And the cards are okay, I think, for a pay-per-view. I think it's been a couple of the fights that I've got mixed up and taking some of the fights that were taken off the card have kind of hurt it a little bit. So yeah, it's not the strongest pay-per-view you're ever going to see. I think MSG is struggling to sell tickets big time for this one, so I can see a lot of comp tickets getting thrown out in New York later on in this fight week. But again, it's a pretty decent main event, and I like the co-main event as well. And there's some fighters throughout the card I'm looking forward to seeing. Coming off UFC Moncton for last week, and turned out to be a few magical spots on that card. A couple of fighters that really impressed the hell out of me, and I won again on my bets. Not by much, but I won. If you follow me on BMMA tips, you'll see that I made a slight profit and continue my really good 2018, which is awesome. A little bit kind of pissed about a couple of spots that I never bet, which as the week went on, I got a lot more confident in that. I bet Marcelo Gome. It was either going to be Marcelo Gome or Talita Bernardo, and I really should have went the other way. Lost that one, and then Anthony Smith was another one, which I kind of regretted not pulling or taking the shot on him, because I was fairly confident he was going to get it done against Volkan Ozdemir, and it turned out to be the case. I think I got a couple wrong. I think it was like 9-4, maybe, I think, for the event. So not too bad. A few underdog picks, which is always nice. And they were a little bit clearer to see last week. I think there's a couple here, but they're a bit harder to kind of to dig in and find them here. As always, just thank you to all the new people that have subscribed. It seems I went a little bit quiet with subscribers recently, so if we can try and get that up a little bit, people are liking the video, which is awesome. If we can try and always get over 100, that'd be pretty awesome if we can. And yeah, last week I was talking a little bit about maybe moving on from the YouTube prediction videos, and I'm still in that kind of thought process of what I'm going to do. Yeah, I have thought about Patreon, which I've had about 5 to 10 people say that that's the way I should go and do stuff like that. But like I say, I'm going to try and concentrate on these fight cards coming up, and then towards the end of the year, make my decision what I'm going to do. But there's been a lot of support, and I've seen it all. So thank you very much. I've got a lot of emails from people telling me that they watch my videos, and they have done for years, and help them out in maybe some betting situations or DraftKings situations and so on. So I really appreciate it, guys. I really do. And like I say, I think for the immediate future, I'm going to be sticking around, but it's still a thought on what I need to do, because like I say, family is first. And yeah, but like I say, we can focus on that towards the start of next year and see how we go on. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your picks down below. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And yeah, we're going to get straight into this, and we're starting off in the heavyweight division with Adam Visharek against Marcos Rogério de Lima, Pejao de Lima. And this was one that I was actually looking forward to seeing Ruslan Magomedov making his return after the USADA ban. He pulled out, I think it was last week, and Pejao jumps in here. Originally, he was a heavyweight in the Brazil tough show, and he went all the way down. I think did he go down to 185 maybe? And then this went all the way back up again. I'm maybe thinking of Vitor Miranda. I think I am. He went down to... he did go down. No, he went down in light heavyweight. That's what it is. I'm just getting that mixed up a little bit. And we all know what this guy's about. Big power, but can be taken out very, very easily. And that's kind of been a mainstay of his kind of UFC career. When you look at some of his wins, devastating in the first round. If you get him outside the first round, he is pretty much there to be got at, and you can take him out. So he's a finish or be finished fighter. But the guy has got some serious big power, some big ground and pound. He's got some submission skills as well. But if you get him into the later parts of this fight, you can physically break him and wear him out and break him as a fighter. And that's something here which I think it's someone like Adam Visharek has to do. He has to survive early. If he does, I think he can start to take over the fight in the second and third round. Now, Visharek, to me, the one thing last week when I was watching actually Singh and Beulah was just like the difference in quality in the heavyweight division. It's always been there, but sometimes it's certain fights that just make you more aware of like your heavy, big guys, your elite guys in that division, and it's the guys who are up and coming and look good, and then you've got the guys at the bottom who really aren't that great. Gome is one of those guys. Bula's another one of those guys. I think Visharek is another one of those guys. But he's come into UFC. He's got himself 2 wins. And I think he'll be feeling fairly confident to get a third one here. We've seen he beat Arjun Bula with that omoplata last time out. He was getting backed up far too easy, was getting taken down, was actually getting hit up a little bit by Arjun Bula on that one, but did readjust after the first round, which he probably lost, and then managed to find a submission on the ground against Bula. And it's something that he's pulled out in the past. He's won by arm bars and so on the regional scene. And he's very, very dangerous down there, so you have to be very careful. I think it's a hard fight to pick, and for me, I'm going to go with just. I don't know. I was going to say dog or pass there, but I don't know. It's a hard. I think I would rather take the shot in the dog, honestly. Peugeot comes out, he's aggressive. If he can back him against the cage and that guy throws, he could really catch him with a big strike and put him out. But like I say, he's a risky pick for the simple fact that if he gets to the end of that first round, then I think you're 75% plus at least confident that Visharek can find a way to finish this fight. But I'm going to go with Peugeot de Lima to win. I'm going to go knockout in the first round. I'm going to go with that one there. But he is coming in short notice, but he is at heavyweight, so he's missed weight a couple of times, so him cutting shouldn't be too bad. If he misses heavyweight limit, I'd be very, very surprised. But who knows with this guy? He's missed a couple in a row. I very much doubt he's that big as well. But heavy power puncher. I think if he can just push Visharek up, unload some strikes, I think he can definitely get in there and knock him out. But it is a risky pick. But I'm willing to take a shot in underdog and see if he can pull it out there. Interesting playing DraftKings as well, because he could get it done early. It was like Don Madge last week. I was very confident, obviously, in T. Edwards. Everybody's seen that. And Don Madge was a guy that actually kind of saved my night on DraftKings, because I had him in a couple of lineups. And he made me profit for the night. It doubled, I think he trebled my money actually, which was pretty decent. So he saved my night. But this is another one of those which I'll keep a little eye on, maybe throw him in a few lineups, and maybe he could be the difference between me winning and losing. So yeah, Peugeot, first round knockout. Moving on, this is an interesting fight. I've been really going back and forward in this fight. Brian Kelleher against Montel Jackson, and it's 11 p.m. here, late Monday night, and I was really going back and forth on this. Like literally 3 hours ago, I was saying to a friend, I think I'm on Montel Jackson, and I might even bet Montel Jackson. And then I went back and watched his last 2 fights against Julio and Ricky Simone, and I watched Kelleher's fight with Barao and John Lineker. And there's no shame in Brian Kelleher losing to John Lineker, because John Lineker, I really only think he will lose to top 5 guys, and whether it be flyweight, if he went down there, I think he would beat the majority of the 5 there. If he move up to 135, that's a big pool of great fighters at 135, and he's in there. And I think he's the kind of guy that will only lose to top 5 guys. Anybody else outside that, he will beat, and he's hard to look good against and hard to just get stuff off on. And Kelleher got beat up in that one. Now he's coming back. Is he coming back a little bit too soon? I'm not too sure. It's 6 months thereabouts. I think it was the end of May where he fought down Brazil against Lineker. And he's shown that he's got some decent skills. What I like about Kelleher is he's a really good pressure fighter, and he likes to kind of get out there and sling some leather and establish very, very early on. And I like fighters like that. And he's shown that in the past with, obviously, the win with Alcantara, the win over Stasiak, which I thought it wasn't a great performance. The win against Barao, you look into that and it is a good win, but then you're like, it's Renan Barao, 2018, and he's a shell of himself. He's losing to guys coming in off the regional scene in Brazil. So it's like, yeah. But Montel Jackson is a guy I'm really impressed with. I think that he's got a lot of skills. I think he's going to be a great fighter in the future. But is he ready right now in beating someone like Brian Kelleher? I think he can. But what you need to remember with this guy is he's only, I think he's 6-1 as a pro. He's only been a pro for like 14, 15 months. And someone like Kelleher has been around, and he's closing in, I think, on his near 30 fights in his professional fight career. Now, that's a lot of fights, a lot of experience. He's took a lot of losses. He's probably learned a lot of things, and he's beat good fighters out in the regional scene before he even came into the UFC. And he's got some good UFC wins. Beat Julio Arce twice. Andre Sukumtath, who won at the weekend. We all know that he's a little bit iffy sometimes as Sukumtath, and we saw bits of that at the weekend again, but he's still a heavy power puncher with big, big strikes, and he won that via decision there. I went back and watched that fight as well. But like Stasiak really impressed me, and Montel Jackson, he really impressed me in the Ricky Simon fight. Even though he lost, I thought Ricky Simon's a guy I really like watching fight, but with someone like Ricky Simon who's go, 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 and he never really stops over the 15 minutes, I thought he showed some really good signs for a young fighter in there, and just lost that fight. And there's no shame in losing to Ricky Simon in that one at all, because I thought he had definitely had moments in that when he dropped him at the end of the first. What I liked about it was when he got taken down, he always seemed to find a way of, maybe in the early to middle part of the fight, he found a way to get back to his feet, move into a position where Ricky Simon, if he stayed there, he was going to get mounted and so on. The guy's got a massive length advantage over Kelleher here, and I think what he needs to do is just work from the outside and use that length that he's got, because he's got a really big raping left hand, rapier, I should say, not raping, where he can really expose some distance with his striking, and it's something that he really needs to use and use the teeps to keep him back. I think for Brian Kelleher, he's going to have to get in and pressure and try and look for takedowns and try and work in the clinch. But I think that's another dangerous aspect of this fight, because I think that Jackson, with his length, they were talking in that fight, it's the number 10 they called it, the knee up the middle, once Ricky Simon getting close. I think he will try and use that. But it's just, I think I'm being pulled in at the more experience with Brian Kelleher. I think I wouldn't say he's probably fought a guy like Montel Jackson before, but he's maybe fought similar guys with a length advantage, bigger, taller guys. And but like I say, I've got high hopes for Montel Jackson. Think he's a really solid fighter. I don't know, it's a little bit early in his UFC career to I don't know. It's a tough fight for me. I've been going back and forward. Initially, I was on Brian Kelleher when he was the favourite. Then I kind of switched a little bit to Montel Jackson when he was the favourite. And I think I've went back again with my original pick, which I've tried to say this year. I'm going to stick with my gut feeling, and that is Brian Kelleher. So I'm going to stick with Brian Kelleher. I see he's the underdog here, and then I am a little tempted to throw something on him, and I might still do, but it might be one of these fights where I lay back, because I do rate Montel Jackson. I think he's a really good, solid striker, and just a really solid fighter with a lot of attributes that's going to help him in his UFC tenure or fighting tenure, his fighting career. I'm going to go Brian Kelleher. I think this is going to be close. If he doesn't get caught and get boxed up early, I think he can make this dirty, and I think he can use his experience to get in there and win the fight. So I'm going to go Brian Kelleher via decision, but I can see it being a little bit squirrely. But I'm going to stick with my gut pick in that one, and go Brian Boom Kelleher via decision. Next up, featherweight division. This is a great fight. This could be, honestly, I think this is one of the fights I'm most looking forward to. It might be the best fight actually on the card. We've got Sugar Shane Burgos against Kurt Holobaugh, and we'll talk about Sugar Shane, who obviously is coming off a loss. That is a big, big thing in anybody's career, how you react to something like that. And how, like I say, how do you react to that? He's coming off a loss, and it's a pretty vicious knockout to Calvin Kattar. Now, we saw at the weekend that Calvin Kattar is no joke whatsoever. He is in there, and he's easily a top 15 guy without a shadow of a doubt, with a lot of skills. And he had parts of the fight, I think he was a little bit, it showed that his head movement kind of lacks a little bit, and sometimes I think he needs to wait for his time better, be a little bit more patient. I think once Kattar was hitting him with some strikes, he tried to answer back really quickly, and I think that led to the knock. knockout in the third round there, where he got hit with a couple, got too aggressive, came forward and ate a beautiful combo. One of the best finishes of 2018, in my opinion. But I love Tiger Shulman fighters. I love guys that come out of that camp. All the fundamentals are great. Really solid footwork. Usually they throw, I think Burgos is a little bit, like I say, I think his aggressiveness sometimes can hurt him a little bit, because he can get hit with strikes, and he leaves his hands low, and he has to be careful of that with someone like Kurt Holobaugh, who has shown that he can crack, shown that he can hurt people as well. When you go into Kurt Holobaugh, I thought he had I loved that fight with Leone Barcelos. I know he got knocked out back in July, I think it was. Excuse me. But that was honestly one of my favourite fights of the year, if I remember right. There was takedowns in there. There was a lot of strikes, a lot of heavy strikes, a lot of good counter striking. And to be honest, Holobaugh showed a lot of really good parts of that fight. I did think that Barcelos was winning the majority of the exchanges in that one, but I think that Holobaugh had the more output and was super dangerous. And I mean, the guy's not had a UFC win here, and if he doesn't win this one, he'd be hard pressed to really keep him around in the UFC. I know his old losses were way back in like 5 years ago in 2013 against Steven Styler, and I think it was Pat Healy, if I remember right. In fact, that might even be Strikeforce. So he's only had a couple of fights in the UFC. In fact, I think that wasn't Strikeforce. Yeah, it was. And yeah, he's a very, very, very solid striker, and he's a very, very tough fight, and it's a very tough fight for Shane Burgos to come back to after the Calvin Kattar fight. But I am more confident in what I see from Shane Burgos. I think he's going to be hungry to get back in the win column. Losing 2 in a row would be pretty devastating, I think, for Shane Burgos. I think from what I've read on or some of the interviews I've watched, he's very much a confidence fighter, so he needs to get his confidence back here and get himself in the win column, and he's still a very dangerous fighter in that division. So for me, I'm going to pick Shane Burgos. I see it being close though, and it wouldn't surprise me if Holobaugh took rounds off Shane Burgos, but I'm going to pick Burgos to win. I'm going to pick a third round knockout, but I do see it being a little bit closer than what some people are letting on. People are thinking this is a lock. I don't see it that way at all. So Burgos via TKO round number 3 for me there. Moving on, we've got Matt Frevola against Lando Vannata, your head fight of the UFC Fight Pass prelims. And it's another one people are saying Frevola is live, and I think in some aspect he is, but I also think this is an aspect in this fight where this is a fight that really could be a very good fight for Lando Vannata, just due to the intense pressure that Matt Frevola kind of shows. He comes forward, kind of chin in the air, hands down, and is there to be hit, and that showed in that fight with Reyes. Well, I forgot his name now. Paulo Reyes. Sorry, I literally just read an article, and he got a USADA suspension as well. But it showed he got too aggressive, came forward, got his clocked, cleaned by Paulo Reyes, and knocked out. And you have to be careful with Reyes, because he can catch you with stuff like that. We've seen him against Jose Flores on the Dana White show. I also seen him against Manflo and Titan. RFC, I've seen a couple of his fights as well. So I've seen a bit of him, and I think he's got a lot of pressure, obviously. He comes forward, but there is deficiencies in his game that could maybe be a big benefit, a big factor for Lando Vannata here. And I think this is the kind of fight that he could maybe look very, very good in. But also, I don't know how you can be super confident in Lando Vannata, because his UFC tenure, he came in with a lot of hype, obviously. That fight with El Kakui was an eye-opener, because he's shown that he could kind of mix it up and have decent spots in fights where he could fight the best guys. Did get taken out, obviously. John McDessie, beautiful knockout. David Tamer, I think we all know that David Tamer is a really, really good, solid fighter, a great striker, good counter striker, very fast, fluent striker, where someone like Vannata is very unpredictable, very creative with his striking. He's kind of been built up by Brandon Gibson, who is a really good striking coach. But I think he has to get back to his fundamentals, use his feints, try and move his head off the centre line, and just mix it up, and don't be a target there. Where, I mean, Drakkar Klose outstruck Lando Vannata in their fight. I did not expect that in the slightest. I thought that Drakkar Klose was going to try and tie him up and try and win the fight by doing that, but he outstruck him. He did get a takedown. I think that Vannata also got a takedown. But he's just kind of fizzled out a little bit. Great fight with Bobby Green, by the way, which was another good one that I watched yesterday. But I think someone like Frevola is going to come forward, and I think that if Vannata can find those openings early, I think he can really get that confidence back and that little swagger, and try all that creative stuff that he's got, but get back to fundamentals, land your combinations, hurt him up, and then as he's coming forward, really try and pick him apart and take him out. But like I say, Frevola, I think he's going to want to look for takedowns here. I don't want to say he's live, but I think he's got a shot if he can not get pinged early and go into later rounds. He can maybe start to get at Vannata a little bit. I am more confident in picking Lando Vannata, if I'm being honest with you. Not super confident. I'm like 70% confident that he can get this done here. I think the line's a wee bit off, but I'm going to pick him via stoppage. I'm going to go Vannata via maybe a late second, early third round stoppage there. But I think Frevola, if he fights smart, he might have a couple of spots in this fight where he could look good. But just feel a little bit more confident with Vannata. So yeah, moving on to this Fox Sports 1 preliminary card. Welterweight division. We have Ben Saunders, who's got himself another fight. This was supposed to be Sultan Aliyev against Lyman Good here. Lyman Good's the other guy that's in this fight. But we saw Ben Saunders pretty much outclassed by the serious grappler, which is Sergio Moraes. It's actually pretty cool. After that fight, they were in the back and they were like, Moraes was showing him how to get out of that and how to kind of adjust and not get caught and stuff like that, which was pretty cool to see. But he's a guy that, I mean, that was only 22nd of September, so that wasn't even that long ago. So 6 weeks, maybe if you're lucky, quick turnaround. He never took all that much damage. He kind of got controlled on the ground more. But I do think that Ben Saunders is kind of at that teetering point where he's lost 3 of his last 4 and he's been stopped in all of them as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. He's only winning those last 4 fights as Jake Ellenberger, and we all know what Jake Ellenberger's kind of like right now. Pretty much done. Court McGee, I think, is a good win, considering he came out the weekend, looked better than he has in a long time. But Lyman Good's a guy that I think a lot of people, just by the way he looks, I think they think he's a better fighter than kind of what he is. I'm a guy I want to be impressed with what Lyman Good is, and he comes from Team Tiger Schulman, obviously, and I've already said I really like those fighters that come out of there. But in that Zaleski dos Santos loss, he went back to his camp at the end of one of the rounds, and he was mentally broken, and he didn't want to be hit by Zaleski dos Santos, and he ended up losing that fight, I think, because of that, because his mentality got in the way, and that hurt him. And he's a guy that has not fought much in the last 3 years. He's only had like 3 fights, in the last 3 years. It's not that much since 2015. So maybe someone like Ben Saunders could use all that experience that he's got and keep himself in the fight. I struggle to see it. I think that Ben Saunders is there to be hit hard. And someone like Good does hit hard. He has a submission game as well. It'd be interesting if this was to go to the ground. I think we will see it go to the ground at some point of this fight. But his losses, Lyman Good is Zaleski dos Santos, Koreshkov, Ben Askren, Rich Hahn. I think there might have been a couple more actually in there. I could be wrong. But the other ones that kind of come to mind. So yeah, I'm a little bit. I'm impressed with him, but not impressed. It's a weird thing with Lyman Good. I think he wins this fight, though. I'm not going to pick Ben Saunders. I don't think he's live whatsoever. I think Lyman Good needs to get in there, just throw those heavy strikes. You can catch the chin of Ben Saunders, and you can put him down. So I'm going to go Lyman Good, knockout, second round. Moving on, featherweight division. Another guy from Tiger Schulman's, Julio Arce against Sheymon Moraes. Another great fight. We'll start off with Sheymon Moraes. I cashed him as an underdog last time out against Matt Sales. It got a little bit squally towards the end there. It really did. But I think he's a guy a lot of people really kind of underestimate a little bit. And I think that this this line, honestly, is off. I think he's over plus 300 dog. I think that's off. I do like Arce a lot, but I think that Sheymon Moraes has got a really good striking. He doesn't throw a hell of a lot of output, but his striking is good. Really good leg kicks, really good jab, right hand jab combination. And he likes to kind of rip to the body as well. And I always like fighters that do that. They kind of mix up, go body, go low. But you've seen towards the end of that fight, I think Matt Sale is actually a guy that actually really impressed me in that fight. He's going to be a guy who's going to be a really good fighter in the future, especially with someone like Dominic Cruz in his corner. And he's got a lot of talents that need to be nurtured a little bit, but I think he could become a good fighter from that. But Moraes is a really good fighter. I really like him as a fighter, and I think that he could give Julio Arce a really, really good fight here. Arce has shown that he's just another good fighter with very, very good striking, but he's also a guy that's got great jiu-jitsu as well, and he's one of these guys that likes to lock up the kind of rear naked choke, and we've seen that in the Ring of Combat days. Even like early 2017 against Buena Fuente, he caught him in that one, rear naked choke in the second. I think I was as far back. In fact, I watched the Kelleher losses that he had, but it's always nice to look into losses. He got caught with a guillotine choke in the third there, and he lost a decision in that one away back in the Ring of Combat days. But that was like 2015. You obviously seen the progression that he's made since then. Like I say, Tiger Showman guys, great striking, great coaching. And they're just really solid guys. They're hard guys to beat. You don't win easy fights against those guys. And I've been impressed with these 2 wins in the UFC. I mean, he's got a finish over Daniel Tamer, who maybe a little bit early in the UFC, but he's still a tough guy. Got that finish in the third. Dan Ige has shown that he can win fights in the UFC as well. Peter Pettis, I think, is another good win. He went to the Dana White show, and got that knockout in the second round there. Interesting fight. I think the first round is going to be big here because Sheymon Moraes is going to be his most fresh. He's going to be landing strikes. I think that Arce is going to want to counter off those strikes, but he has to be careful, keep his guard up, keep his hands up, and don't get caught with a big shot with Sheymon Moraes. Like I said, I think he has a live fight on this one, but I do feel like Julio Arce has got a lot to offer. I think he's starting to kind of come into his prime as a fighter. He's looking really, really good, really solid. I just like his overall technical game, really, really good, and I like his ground game. People aren't talking about his ground game all too much. I think if he was to get him down here, we've seen that Zabit got Sheymon down, and he could kind of live with him for a little bit down there. I think that if Arce can get the back, he will finish, but I see this being more a decision fight, and I'm going to go Julio Arce to win a unanimous decision there. Moving on, women's flyweight division, Sijara Eubanks against Roxanne Modaferri. I can see why Sijara's a little bit pissed. She's coming out saying Joe Rogan this and she's going to do this to Joe Rogan, and I was like, whatever. I do think the right thing was to make JJ against Jędrzejczyk against Shevchenko for the title. I can see why Eubanks is pissed though, because you've had that fight kind of taken away, and there's a lot of kind of monetary advantages with getting a fight like that, but I think it is a little bit too early, and she's got herself a fight in MSG here against Roxanne Modaferri, who she's beat before, and beat pretty comprehensively as well. And honestly, I don't see it being much different from what you've seen in the Tough Show. I think Sijara's got the bit between her teeth. She's going to want to go out here and prove that she deserves that next shot at Shevchenko, and she could very well get it. She was supposed to get it on after the show. Weight debacle kind of things went against her, and she never got that fight, but she wins this fight comprehensively. It's hard to see her really not getting a title fight, but she's very ill on her career. I think she's like 3-2 as a pro, I want to say, or is it 4-2? 3-2, and she's lost a couple. I mean, Aspen Ladd's a big girl, and she really rips into her striking. And Chikagian is another girl that's right on the cusp, I think, of getting a title shot in that division. She could very well get it if she beats Jessica Ai at 231 in a month's time. So, coming off that win over Lauren Murphy, very, very kind of dominant in that fight. Roxanne she's notching on 40 fights, I think, in her career. Probably is looking as good as she ever really has. But when you go back and watch that fight on Tough, she got beat up pretty badly by Eubanks. Nice win, nice stoppage win over Barb Ponchak. I'm going to just finish it there. I'm going to go Sijara Eubanks. They really just dominate over 3 rounds and beat Roxanne Modaferri. Would love to see Roxanne actually win the fight, but I don't see it. I'm going to go Eubanks, UD in that one there. And the main fight of the UFC prelims here, we have Jason the Kid Knight against, or Hick Diaz against Jordan Rinaldi in this one there. And yeah, I bet Jason Knight last time out against Makani. Felt kind of robbed that he did not win that fight, and it was a weird fight, that one for me, because me and John, who do the MMA huddle, majority of the week we spent with in and around the Knight camp, and his brother was there, and his brother was the nicest dude, as is Jason and Brandon Davis and all that who were there, and we actually got. It was weird because he had tickets for the fights, but they were way up in the kind of top end of the bleachers, and he wanted to get down to cage side where we were for the fights to watch there. So we managed to give him our ticket that managed to get him into the kind of ring where we were, and he sat down beside us, and it was an awkward thing to watch, like a family member go through that. It's obviously they've all come up together in the fight game. He wasn't a fighter himself, but he's obviously been nurturing his brother and helping his brother with anything that he needs, and that was tough. And when the final decision got read out, it was tough to see him like that. And all I said to him later on that night, he just says, that's the fight game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Thought they won the fight. Spoke to Jason after the fight. He thought he won that fight. He was pissed that he lost to Amir Khan. And I'm not a fan of Amir Khan either. I think he's not an overly great fighter. I think that Knight had him there to take out and just didn't do it. But he's a fighter that I do think he's fighting for his job here, actually. Because I know his losses aren't to bad fighters. I mean, Amir Khani, Lamas, where he got knocked out, and then Gabriel Benitez, I think, is an underestimated fighter as well. Seen that he's changed up a little bit here. He's went out to Team Alpha Male, I think, to work on his grappling a little bit. I don't think he's did his full camp there, but he's did majority of his camp. But he's dangerous on the feet, and he's very dangerous on the ground. And when you've got wins over Dan Hooker, Chaz Scaly, Jim Ehlers as well, who's a really tough guy, you can mix up with some really good fighters in the UFC. He's beat some good fighters. He just needs to get back in that win column again, and I think he will do it here against Jordan Rinaldi. I think that Rinaldi's a solid regional guy. I mean, he's got a UFC win to his name, so you can't not say he can't win UFC fights. It was against Alvaro Herrera down in Mexico, and it was a beautiful submission with a Vomfu choke. But his other 2 fights, he got kind of outclassed by Abel Trujillo, and then Gregor Gillespie is just a buzz, so you have to keep your eye on that guy. So I just see Jason Knight being better everywhere. I don't see where... Could Rinaldi take him down and maybe blanket him a little bit and not get caught up in the guard of Jason Knight? Maybe. He looks like he's got some skills as well. I saw that Clay Harvison submission back in the day, and there was the one against... what's the other one I seen? The Sean Alcox, I think, was one that I spotted on MMA Core when I was watching, which was an armbar. I'm going to pick Jason Knight. I feel more confident there. I think he gets a finish in this one. I think he submits Jordan Rinaldi with inside the first 2 rounds. But like I say, there's a lot of deficiencies with Jason Knight's game. He gets hit too much. He can get taken down. But he is willing to get taken down because he's so aggressive on the ground as well with his jiu-jitsu. I just feel more confident picking Jason Knight. I'm going to pick him via submission in the 2nd round there. So moving on to the main card. And it's pretty much like a middleweight main kind of card. First 4 fights in this card here before the main event is all middleweight division. But I think the best of them actually, and the one I'm looking forward to the most, is this one here. Derek Brunson against the style bender, Israel Adesanya. Now, if you've been watching my videos for whenever, the last 6 years or the last year, whatever, and if you watch the last fights of these guys, especially Adesanya, you'll see that I picked against Adesanya. I think my most impressive performance of the year, the one that really opened my eyes, was Adesanya against Brad Tavares. I picked Brad Tavares in that fight. I bet Brad Tavares in that fight. And once that fight was in the first round, I realised I was not winning this bet and I was not winning this fight. And you can see the progression that Israel Adesanya is making in his fight career, his MMA career. The guy's always been a striker. He's always been a fighter. But he's starting to put it all together and he's starting to look dangerous as well. We all know about his striking. I could go on about his striking all day long. But what I liked from that fight was his takedown defense. I thought was awesome. And the way he just picked apart Brad Tavares for 5 rounds was crazy to me. Like, really, I've watched that fight 3 times in the last week. And every time you watch it, I just get more and more impressed by what I see. And I think that he's got an opponent in here that this could be the kind of breakout performance that really puts Israel Adesanya into the conversation of potentially fighting for titles. I really do. Now, Derek Brunson's a guy that it's kind of do or die, and he's always he's came along as he's got more confidence in his striking. Has been a lot better fighter to watch than he was back in his kind of Strike Force days as well. You go back like even to his UFC debut, Chris Lyman, very tentative in that fight. Submitted Brian Houston. Then the fight with Yoel Romero is a great fight. He had that fight in the palm of his hands and ended up losing in the third. Beat Larkin, beat Herman, Zhukau. He knocked out Uriah Hall devastatingly, and then he lost to Rob Whittaker, where he hit Whittaker with a few shots, but unfortunately then he got taken out. Anderson Silva, he lost. He could have gave him that fight, honestly. Then he knocked out Dan Kelly, Leo Machida, but then he got knocked out against Ronaldo Souza. And to me, he's kind of going into this brawling. He's fallen in love with the power strike, and he knows he can knock you out, but the guy is so wide open, and I don't think he's faced a guy with a strike in Arsenal net. I know Anderson Silva's in there, but Anderson Silva, if this was 10 years ago, and he faced Anderson Silva, then he would. This is kind of what I think Adesanya is around. I don't think. Am I comparing Adesanya to Silva? Not really, but I think his striking is elite, and I think this is going to be the fight that just opens everybody's eyes to Adesanya. I think that he is just going to jab the face off him, and then Brunson is going to get so aggressive that he's going to come forward and he's going to catch a shot. It's all about, for me, if I'm Derek Brunson, I try to get this guy to the ground. Now, I know he's shown that he can get back to his feet, but I think he can take Adesanya down. I think that's what he has to do, but Derek Brunson hasn't showed that in God knows how long. So I think you have to throw that out the window, actually. I'm going to pick Adesanya here. I think I'm going to pick him by knockout as well. I think that Brunson's going to get too aggressive, and a striker like Adesanya is going to come in here and he's just going to catch him and ping the face off him, and Brunson's not going to know what to do, and it's just going to be waking up, staring at the lights. I'm actually fairly confident Adesanya can stop this fight. Looking at a bet, I was wanting to bet him straight up. I can get minus 300, I think it is, over here. It's the lowest line I can get in the UK. Have thought about parlaying him up with some people on here, but I might actually take him inside the distance and see him, but I'm still kind of looking at that right now. But I am picking Israel Adesanya to win by knockout. I'm going to go maybe first round knockout, actually. First round TKO victory for the style bender there. Moving on, Karl Roberson against Jack Marshman. Pay-per-view fight. Can't really say it should be, but hey, it is what it is. And like I say, I think this could end up being a really good fight. I think both guys are fairly aggressive. I think that Marshman is predominantly a striker. He's got a little bit of grappling, but he will want to keep this on the ground, on the feet, and look to try and land the bigger shots on someone like a Karl Roberson, who again is kind of really young in his career, but has shown some spots that I think he is a really solid, good fighter. Win over Darren Stewart via submission. Lost to Cesar Ferreira, who's just a brute of a guy. Got caught in the triangle choke there and just was out. That was it. He got beat with someone. Ferreira's a hard guy to face nowadays. Beat Ryan Spann with knockout elbows in the Dana White show. So he's got some power there. He's very dangerous in the clinch. I think he's very dangerous in the ground. But I do think he's there to be hit at as well. I think someone like Jack Marshman with his boxing background could definitely go in there and land some strikes and make this squirrely. I think that if I'm Roberson. I think I tried to get him out there early. I think the longer the fight goes on and the more of a scrap it becomes, it could get very, very close. So yeah, I am more confident in Karl Roberson. I think he has more tools in his tool belt in this fight here. I think if he was to push Jack against the cage, he could get a takedown. He could get him out through that. So that's kind of how I see this fight going. I see him getting into the ground. I see him getting a finish. So I'm going to go Karl Roberson, submission, probably round number 2 I'm going to go with there. Moving on, David Branch against Jared Cannonier. Little bit gutted that David Branch and Jacare got pulled away. I was probably going to bet David Branch, actually. It was someone that I said in the UFC 229 recap that I was looking at that fight and I was looking at it really hard. I was probably going to end up betting Branch in that one. Of course, Rockhold pulled out, Jacare got put into the co-main, and Jared Cannonier, he was supposed to fight Alessio De Chirico in Argentina. He got moved a few weeks earlier into this card here. And honestly, I think that Cannonier, a solid fighter, coming down from heavyweight, light heavyweight, now down to middleweight. That's a big, big jump coming down all those divisions there. I think David Branch is underestimated as a fighter, and I struggle to see where Jared Cannonier really has an advantage in many areas here. Of course, making that drop down to 185 for the first time, that bigger weight cut, it's going to be taken away from the fluids in the brain. I think he's there to be hit at, and we've seen that he can be hit at. Like, big guys knocked him out up at 205. Dominic Reyes is a legit guy. I think he's going to be a good guy for many years to come. Lost to Jan Blachowicz, who some people are calling a top 5 guy. I'm not in that conversation yet, but yeah, and he's beat big hitters as well. I mean, Ian Cutelaba is a big, big hitter. I don't want to say fought close with Teixeira. No, he didn't fight close. He got outclassed by Teixeira, but he stuck around, went 15 minutes with maybe a top 5 guy. So yeah, for me, I think David Branch is just better. I think he can contend with the striking. Everybody was writing off David Branch against Thiago Santos. I bet David Branch. I can't remember the odds that I got, but I bet him in that fight. I was so happy. Did not expect it to be via knockout. I thought that if he can get it to the ground, he could definitely submit Maheta. Didn't expect him to get a first round knockout. And the guy wins fight. The guy barely loses fights. I know you're going to say World Series of Fights and Vinny Magalhães and Lewis Taylor. Lewis Taylor's a good fighter. He's in the finals, fighting for $1 million at the end of this year. Yushin Okami's always a tough guy to face. And then there's Villafort as well. So, and I mean, he won some fights in the UFC back in the day. Thomas Durrell, he lost to Paul Harris, obviously got knee barred, but he's a really solid fighter, a very confident fighter. I think he was going to give Jacare fits in that fight. I think he was going to give him a lot of trouble. I know that he lost to Luke Rockhold, but Luke Rockhold's one of the top 5 guys in that division. I think he will just outclass Jared Cannonier here. I think he can take him down. I think he can submit him. I think he can potentially knock him out as well via maybe ground and pound. I'm going to go David Branch via submission, if not a very, very, very comfortable and heavy decision in his favour. But David Branch is the pick there. Moving on, where are we? Co-main event, Chris Weidman against Jacare Souza. Now, honestly, guys, this is a fight I've wanted to see for 3 years at least. Now we're getting to see it. I don't think we're seeing it in the prime of their careers, which is a little bit kind of devastating, because I think these two at their prime would have been an absolute great fight. Not saying that this is not going to be a great fight. And I see this being a close fight, and I've kind of struggled a little bit with, because I do have a little bit of a preference for Jacare. I don't know what it is. Every time, I think I mentioned on one of my other videos, like, I've got a really good record of picking his fights, even his wins and his losses. And maybe that's why I've got a little bit of preference for Jacare, but I like his fighting style. I think he's a big striker. As he's came on, his striking's got a lot better. We all know about his ground game, his jiu-jitsu skills, but I do see his age he's obviously getting older. I think his gas tank is depleting. I saw a lot in that Rob Whittaker fight where he couldn't get him down, and the young bull in the second round came out and landed some strikes and absolutely put him down. I think I called that fight absolutely perfect, which is one of my favourite fights I've ever picked. Like, just breaking down the fight, I managed to kind of get that one. I think I bet Whittaker on that fight as well. I think I managed to get it absolutely spot on perfect. So along with Misha Tate against Holly Holm, which was another one I managed to somehow find a 5th round submission, which is a little bit off. So, but great fight nonetheless. A little bit gutted that it's a few years on, but it's a good co-main event for this event here. So Chris Weidman, you just don't see that much of this guy fight anymore. We've seen him last against Kelvin Gastelum, took a few licks early on, but came through that one there and won that fight, especially coming off the 3 losses beforehand. I mean, he was doing very well in the Yoel Romero fight, got caught in the 3rd round with a flying knee. Rockhold, he started off very well, but then got absolutely dusted, and that could have been a career life-changing fight. And it showed in a couple of fights after that he could have been taken out, and he was taken out, obviously Romero, Musasi, but a big win over Gastelum via submission in that 3rd round. For me here, I think that I don't know whether Jacare is going to be able to find a way to get Chris Weidman down. So that means it's going to be a striking affair, and I don't know. I want to say that Chris Weidman's the better striker, but Gastelum did hit with a few shots that wobbled him. And we saw against Brunson that this guy, I know that Brunson's more open, I think, to what Weidman is for strikes. This guy's got some big power. I like the fact that he's moved his camp over to America. I think that's a big thing there. Better sparring partners. I think it's just better facilities for him to... I can't really say that because he won championships over in Brazil and they had a great team, but I don't know where I'm going with that. Still, lost a split decision to Kelvin Gastelum last time out. I had him winning that fight personally, but it is what it is. It's hard to see Jacare losing 2 in a row, and a little bit kind of, I don't know whether that's putting me off, but I think he's at that point in his career where he's maybe close to start tipping. I mean, his last 3 wins, Vitor Belfort, Brunson and Boch. His last 3 losses, Romero, close, Whittaker, not so close, and then Gastelum are all top fighters in that division now. So I'm going to go Chris Weidman decision. I think we see Jacare maybe trying to take him down and try and get it to the ground, which he obviously should. But I think that Weidman's got some legit jiu-jitsu himself. He's got the wrestling advantage there. I don't think he will want to take Jacare at the ground. So I think it's going to be a striking affair. And I think the fresher guy through the 15 minutes will be Chris Weidman. So I'm going to pick him via decision there. Another guy I've been thinking about betting, but I'm not too sure how it would go with that. So I'm going to go Chris Weidman decision. And the main event of the night for the UFC heavyweight title, we have DC Daniel Cormier. By the way, I don't know if you guys seen the promo for from DC at UFC Moncton last week. What a great promo that was, talking about his light heavyweight title, which was a little bit interesting. But yeah, go and check out if you haven't seen it. This fight got put together on a couple of weeks' notice. And I'm a little bit skeptical with the fight altogether, obviously. I can see why DC took it. I can see why Lewis took it. Lewis is probably going to get a massive bump in pay. Daniel Cormier, I think he's looking at this and rubbing his hands thinking this is an easy matchup. DC has come out in interviews and said his hand's like really injured. But you can't really see him wanting to stand and trade with someone like Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis obviously had injuries from his last fight where he was getting completely outclassed by Volkov. And then Derrick Lewis, being Derrick Lewis, found a way to win the fight and then give probably the best interview after a fight we may have ever seen. And I can see why the UFC put this fight together. The guy, I think he gained like 600,000. That's like they were talking about the McGregor effect on Fighters Below. 600,000 more people went and followed him on Instagram, and I was one of them. I never followed him on Instagram, and the guy's hilarious on there with some of the shit that he posts. But calling a spade, Derrick Lewis is not a great fighter, and he shouldn't be mixing it with these guys. Like someone like a Cormier whose class is legit, it's permanent. He's only probably going to lose, I think, to the best fighter we've had in the sport, and John Jones. And in that second fight with John Jones, he was doing very well before getting caught, and that happens. But in saying that Derrick Lewis is not and shouldn't be in the upper echelon of this division is kind of maybe a little bit demeaning, but he's won like 9 of his last 10. Now, I know it's against some of the kind of low-level fighters of that division, but he has beat some of the guys who are at the top of the division now. So Volkov was right in title contention. Ngannou, he's fought for a title. He had all the hype around him. That was a fight that she never mentioned again. But in majority of fights, he's been losing. I think Shamil was down 3 rounds, got mount, knocked him out. Travis Lewis got hit to the stomach a couple of times, started to fold, managed to find a way to knock him out. Did the same a little bit against Mark Hunt, did lose to Mark. Mark Hunt found a way to take him out. And so in most of these fights, he would find a way to come back. He was on his way to losing that fight, actually, before knocking him out in the 3rd round. Ngannou, let's not mention that. And then Alexander Volkov, he was on the way to losing that 30-27. Let's not be honest, it was in the last 15 seconds he won that fight. And obviously he's got a puncher's chance here, because that is what Derrick Lewis is all about. Throwing heavy leather and looking to knock you out, and he can do that. I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity. I think the DC is just going to run, put him against the cage, grab that single leg. We've seen that he can take this guy down. DC is a little tank of a fighter. Going to be undersized, obviously, but the guy is so strong, so bear-like. I don't think he'll want to mix it one bit. I think he comes out, just feels it out a little bit, maybe throws a couple of strikes, but instantly looks to clinch, get this fight to the ground. And I think pressure is the big thing for DC here, obviously. I think once it gets to the ground, I think that I can't see Derrick Lewis, sweeping, reversing, and getting into that mount position. I've heard some people say that. I don't think that's going to happen, personally. I think that DC is going to take him down. He's just going to ride him out, pressure him, make Derrick Lewis work. He's going to gas himself out. And then the submission or the TQ finishes there. I think the submission is the bet I want to go with. So I'm going to pick Daniel Cormier to win the fight. But it would be pretty... Could you imagine if Derrick Lewis comes in here and wins the title and is the UFC Heavyweight Champion? I mean, Jesus Christ. Imagine that. I can't see it happening, personally. So I am going to go Daniel Cormier, 1st or 2nd round submission in the first 2 rounds. Maybe the 2nd round. I think that Lewis might show a little bit of maybe sticking around and not giving up positions and maybe fighting a little bit harder than what some people are giving him credit for. But I think once it hits the 2nd round, I think he'll get taken down again. The opportunities will be there for DC to get him. So Daniel Cormier, 2nd round submission is what I'm going to go with, I think. So that's my picks for UFC 230. Really enjoyed speaking about that card. A lot of better fights than maybe I was letting on. But so yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that this weekend. Then next weekend we are back for the 25th anniversary of the UFC in Denver, Colorado, and the main event has just got mixed up over the weekend there, with the Korean Zombie now facing off against El Pantera, Yair Rodriguez, who's replacing Frankie Edgar, who pulled out the weekend. I love that main event. I really do. I think it's a better main event. Yair against the Korean Zombie. Love the co-main event. Mike Perry against Donald Cerrone. So a little bit of bad blood between the camp. And I think it's a fight. I think people are really riding Mike Perry high in that one, and I'm not one of those guys right now, but I'm going to go and watch a couple of fights right now, actually. But there is some good fights throughout the card as well. So looking forward to that next week. Keep an eye on that. I'll probably be out next Monday. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your picks. If you've got bets, tell me who you're betting. And yeah, enjoy the fight card when it comes around. Appreciate the support, and I will see you all next week.